If you look at the world today, we have a bit more than 900 million people who have a Facebook profile and go there at least once a month. But what is more interesting is that out of those 900 million people, 60% return daily. This is game-changing in the sense that thanks to Facebook, you will manage to have a scale, to have a reach that you've never had before. And that's why we hear those stories from John, for instance, about Groupon or other companies like Zynga, who actually use Facebook not only to boost their business, but even to create new businesses that are disruptive based on what was happening before. Now, we heard also from John about how mobile is going to change that. We already have more than 500 million people every month who use Facebook with their mobile. And out of all those 900 million people, more than 80% live outside of North America. So, of course, if we look at France, for instance, we also have some staggering numbers. 25 million people will go there every month. 66% will return daily, and yes, the younger generation adopted this phenomenon faster than others, but it's not a platform or website for kids. A lot of people use it, and what you can see is that the heart of the people who use it are actually people who are between 18 and 34 years old. So the question, of course, is, when you have that many people, the first thing to do is use Facebook as media. When we talk about how ads can promote your business, well, if we look at this telco company in the UK called O2, what they did is that they wanted to leverage the reach, the unique reach of Facebook, for instance, to promote their new TV campaign by making sure that a lot of people would see it. And what you see on the far right is that they use the logout page. So once a user logs out of Facebook, you have a full screen where you can actually see the video. And in just one day, more than 200,000 people actually saw this video. If you look at another example, this time in Germany, for Nutella for Christmas, what they did is that they ran a campaign on Facebook, and they managed, on top of their TV campaign, to add a unique reach of more than 3.8 million people who actually just saw the campaign on Facebook. And that, for me, the very first answer to the question I've been asked to tackle is, by using the scale of Facebook, you can actually boost your business and drive sales, as has been shown in Germany with GfK, because they attributed about 15% of their Christmas sales directly to those Facebook campaigns. So of course, the very reason on top of scale that Facebook advertising can boost your business is that we have a very accurate targeting. John briefly told to us in Q&A that it's game-changing. The very reason is because of my profile, of your profile, of the fact that we have a very accurate way of targeting people, because they're not just telling us, this is who I am, they're actually telling it to their friends. Therefore, when you have a broad targeting, we are very relevant, about 95%, when the industry average is only at 72. But when you start to deep dive into more precise targeting, you actually see that the gap in terms of accuracy of targeting is absolutely staggering, because we are roughly at about 90%, as Nielsen has measured it, compared to a 35% average. So it's not just people telling us that this is what they're interested. This is actually showing the fact that that is what matters to them. These are the people they want to connect with. These are the brands they want to actually interact with, or the places they've been. And therefore, this is another view of who I am on Facebook. What you see here is not only music that I like or movies that I like, but actually movies that I've watched, music that I've listened to on Deezer or on Spotify. And therefore, the targeting possibilities are absolutely staggering, whether it's for local, because of the places that I've been to and checked in, or just because I actually manage to share information. And what you see here is when you go on your own personal profile, I invite you to do so, you can click on the right to create an ad, and you end up with our advertising self-service interface, where you can actually play with the numbers, see how many people in the United States like golf, how many people that actually watch this type of movies, and that is why you start to have advertising that is not just based on people are there, but more about this could be of interest to you. If we wanted to monetize the website quickly, we would have had banners. It would have made life a lot easier for advertisers because there is just a lot of people and we just show them ads. What we thought is that we could do a lot better and we could do a lot more about it because not only people are on Facebook, but what is interesting is that they actually share a lot of things. They do a lot of things. They interact with people, with their friends, with their family. And they post photos, videos, they like things, and that is what is the most interesting part for a business, because you can actually start to become part of the daily activity of people. What you see here is what we call the newsfeed. The newsfeed is my Facebook homepage, and the very unique thing about Facebook is that we are the only place on the internet, whether it's through PC or mobile, where we have one homepage dedicated to each and every single user. It's the only place where, based on my identity, based on the people I'm connecting with, based on things that I like, I get a very unique experience. And we believe that it's very much explaining the reason why so many people return daily to the website and spend so much time on Facebook. It's because my mother doesn't have the same website as I do. And today, when you go on most websites, my mother gets the same experience as I do. And let me tell you, we're very different. Not only because of age, but because of what we like, because of what we do. And therefore, in terms of ads, we thought that yes, we can do ads. They work, they're very efficient, so we can show content produced by companies to people we don't know, people we're not connected to. But we can also do what we call sponsored stories, aka advertising to people you have a certain connection to. And that's where it starts to be very interesting, because what you see here is a Facebook page, a Facebook ad, and the top part is that what we call social context. A social context is very simple. It's just showcasing the friends that you have who relate, who are connected to that very specific brand. And this has a dramatic impact in terms of advertising efficiency. What we measured, and what a lot of other people measured, is that it increased by 50% the ad recall, the fact that you remember. Why? Because it's not just a brand coming and saying, hey, look at me, I'm beautiful, I do great stuff. It's my friend who said, by the way, he's right. I went to this place, it's awesome. I love this ice cream. And of course, when you're a business, when you're a brand, when you're a company, you want to make sure that people remember your ad, and of course that it drives awareness, for instance. So you can use ads to answer to very specific business needs, all the way, from that conversion funnel where we say from consideration to sale, where you can actually have an impact thanks to the friends of this person. So our mission, our goal for you is simply to create what we call social technologies to help you improve your business. What we call by social technologies is simply a set of tools that will allow you to interact efficiently with our users. So you have pages, which is the equivalent of a profile for a company or for a brand. You have what we briefly talked about, which are ads and sponsored stories, and also all the technology. So for instance, those like buttons that you see now appearing on a lot of websites that enable a brand to interact with the user. So why are pages so important, and why did we change them recently? Your page is what we call mission control. It's the way a company or a brand decides to express its true identity toward the outer world. So here is Ben & Jerry's. They do ice creams, and they created a page to showcase the history of the company, what they do, what is interesting for them, and the people who are connected with will click on the like button to have a connection with this brand because they have an emotional bond, or they ate ice cream last week and they found it good. Well, the brand can actually post information, as you can see here in the image, and the ads are just here to amplify this message. We're not here to deliver out of the blue message. We're just here to amplify what the brand proposes. So this is what you see on the far right, with the same image, the same content, just adding some more relevancy for the user by including their friends, so social context. And this can be distributed on Facebook, but also in the newsfeed, where people discover information. And of course, this newsfeed is also shown on mobile, because you can now have mobile ads on Facebook. So the first step, of course, is what you see on the far right, which is a like advertising. It's an ad that says to the user, are you interested in connecting with me? This is the very same thing we do when we friend request someone. Are you interested in keeping in contact with me? Because we knew each other at school, because we met at a Works for Lab conference, and it could be nice to stay in touch. And therefore, when you are a brand, you have three very clear and easy ways to interact with the users. The first one is what we call organic. So when a user likes a page, you can post information to him, and you have to remember that pictures, of course, is a tremendous part of what people do on Facebook, because it's the first picture website on Earth. The second part is to make sure that this very important piece of information is seen by everyone. You can amplify this message, and you can amplify it and make it more relevant to a user by including social context. And the third one is what we call viral. So what is viral? We hear a lot about buzz, viral, and so on. Viral is simply seeing the activity of a friend online. So in the case of Facebook, it's my friend liked this article on Le Monde. My friend listened to this music on Deezer. My friend played this game on Zynga. Or in the case, for instance, of Voyage SNCF in France, my friend booked a ticket for Bordeaux. And what we saw is that out of every 6 shares after purchasing a train ticket on Voyage SNCF, it makes another additional sale for Voyage SNCF. And that's where you see the importance of making sure that your commercial proposal, your message, your brand is seen by users, but is seen in a socially relevant manner for a user. So if we go back to ads and how ads can boost your business, you have 3 places on Facebook where you can actually deliver your message. The first one is what you see a lot on the top right corner on most pages of Facebook, where you see multiple ads. The second one is on the homepage, where you have some premium exposure, so just one advertiser per page, and since fairly recently, also in the newsfeed of the user, whether it's on PC or on mobile. So if I had to sum up how can Facebook ads can boost your business, it's by scaling and amplifying word of mouth. So what is word of mouth? It's simply the fact that no matter how many reviews I will see from strangers about this restaurant is great, if one of my best friends tells me it's not good, I simply won't go. And we all have the, I would say, inner conviction that we know whom to trust among our friends. If you want to see a movie next week, I'm sure I won't call my mother to give me a tip about which movie to see, because I'm sure we have different tastes. Yet I know which of my friends I can trust in music, sport, films, fashion, traveling. And this is what is very interesting, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that all this efficiency in advertising transform into sales, because sales boost your business. So this is a study I like to show a lot, is that clicks do not equal sales. you shall not concentrate your focus and attention on CTR, so click-through rate, and how many people clicked on my ad. What is interesting is how many sales are related to my online activity, my online advertising activity. So it's just a study that mapped the sale boost related to advertising, online advertising campaigns related to CTR, and therefore, what we start to see with a lot of our partners is that not only do Facebook ads work, as we saw before, but they drive sales. This example is to show you that they actually managed to see that by doing advertising on Facebook, they could relate it to a 20% increase in sales offline. Also another example, because I hear a lot that, yeah, Facebook is for love brands, people already love Nike and so on. Well, this is Huggies in Hong Kong. This is for John. What they saw is that by doing an advertising campaign on Facebook that was smart, that was relevant to users, they actually managed to have a 3.5 return on investment on the budget they invested on Facebook. And how did they do so? Well, they did so very easily. They looked at what people do, and they offered them to interact with the brand in a relevant manner. A few other numbers, I don't want to flood you with numbers, but we hear a lot about, how many people are connected to my page. Well, what we saw is that it is not the only important thing, but people who are connected to a Facebook page with a brand are actually the best customers of that brand. They're the most loyal one. They're the one who go more often on their website. They are the one who engage the most with the services. So for instance, in the case of Bing, they saw that someone who was liking Bing on Facebook was doing 68% more searches on Bing. Same goes for Starbucks, where they saw that the people connected to Starbucks spend 8% more on average. And what is interesting is that it's not just people connected to your page, it's also their friends. What we spoke about, that word of mouth, it has a direct sales impact. So the friends of those people actually also conduct 27% more searches. So these are very clear numbers that demonstrate that doing advertising on Facebook has an impact on the sales metric that you're interested in, whether it's foot traffic in your stores, traffic on your website, use of your service more often, and therefore, the key question is, what is your social insight? What a social insight is all about is, how your business is relevant to a specific user. And the two questions you should ask yourself about how to make the most out of Facebook advertising is, why should those people care about what you have to say, and why would they share it to people? So to give you a bit more example about social insights, I wanted to take 3 examples. The first one is about Facebook itself. So before we started to implement the full picture service on Facebook, we had already a lot of services. They were very sophisticated. You could crop pictures, you could share them, you could print them, you could create albums. And what we said is that what is relevant in a picture is to simply and easily share it to the people who are on this picture. Therefore, it's actually a project by 2 engineers who produced it during one of our all-night work, what we call a hackathon, is that they created a function, a very simple one, a few lines of code where you can tag people. You can say, you're on this picture, you're on this picture. Therefore, you no longer had to click to open your email, save the picture on your desktop, send it by email, or even send it by MMS. You just had to click, and people who could actually see that they were on the picture, and their friends could also see it. So we tried to concentrate on the social insight of why are pictures important to people. The example about Huggies. So the very heart of their campaign was, parents believe their children, their babies are the most beautiful one in the world, obviously. So what they said, instead of talking about diapers, they talked about your baby. They said to parents based in Hong Kong, we are doing a contest about the most beautiful baby. So people would post pictures on Facebook, they would vote, they would tell their friends, vote for my baby. They printed a bus that went around all Hong Kong with pictures of the various babies, and that's how they managed to have this 3.5x ROI. Last but not least, Spotify. We could say the same thing about Deezer. If you're interested in listening to music, you may know what you want to listen to. Therefore, you go in the search box, you type the name of the song, the artist, whether you like hip-hop, electronic music, doesn't matter. But most of the time, you know who among your friends has good music taste. Therefore, what they did is that they took what Facebook can enable, which is knowing the people around you, and they powered their service. This is what we call the technology, the platform. They powered the Spotify service by synchronizing if the user wants his Facebook profile with his Spotify profile in order to do what actually hooked me is that you can see what your friends like, what your friends are listening to. And that's how you socially discover music. You make music socially relevant to each and every single user that uses Spotify, and technology just enables to do that at scale. So to sum up, I wanted to give you a little bit of a roadmap. So we saw that you can go from classic advertising in order to benefit from the rich and our targeting possibilities, all the way to going into some more social interactions to even increase the impact of the advertising on your business. So what we often say that a lot of people invested on Facebook and they wanted to make sure they get 1 million connections on their page and everything. Well, what we tell them is that we have a 4-step process, fairly easy, that we invite you to think about or even follow when we think about social strategy. The first one is, of course, to connect with the right people. It's not just a question of numbers, absolute numbers, it's making sure you connect with the right people. So define what the right people are. I invite you to start with your own customers. If people buy from you, well, there is a very high chance that they like you, otherwise they would not buy from you. So try to connect with your customers because these are your best advocates. These are the ones who use your service more, will come more often to your website, will come more often in your store. The second part, of course, is engage with those people. A Facebook page is not a broadcasting platform. You're not here to broadcast your message and then not listen to what's happening. You're here to give value to your user, to your connections, but also listen to what they like. You can ask them questions. You can start to interact with them, not only to make them feel better, but also to learn more from them. They will tell you what they want from you. They will tell you what they like, what they dislike about you. And then, that's where you can start the third step, which is influencing the friends of those people. So, yes, brands, companies are very, very used for years now, decades even, to craft a beautiful advertising message, create a marketing platform, and then shout it to the world. This is very different. You have the possibility not only to use the voice of the brand, say, this is what I do, this is what interests me, but you can actually, thanks to social technologies developed by Facebook, scale the voice of the user. I watched this soccer game. I ordered this movie on Netflix. I listened to this music. And that's what matters to my friends. It's not very much how large your offering is. It's what my friends like in your companies. What are the products they use? What are the destinations they went to? Which hotel do they like? And that's where you can start to influence these people because it makes this information that you have more socially relevant. Therefore, the fourth and last step, and this is where I will stop to answer your question, is what we call integrate. Integration is simply using those social technologies not only to answer your communication and marketing needs, but to actually provide a better service to people. When John showed us this slide about how the internet is becoming disruptive for classic businesses, that's where it lies. Farmville, 100 million users in 6 weeks. It wasn't the best game on earth, but it was one of the very first games where you could play with your friends anytime, anywhere they were. If we look at music, well, maybe Spotify hasn't the biggest listing of songs and artists, but that was at least the only place where I could find what my friends were listening to. And that turns your service into a social enabler. You improve my life, my relation that I have with my friends, therefore I will use your service. So this is the very last step where you can actually leverage all the Facebook tools that we create for you in order to properly boost your business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Xavier. Do we have any questions in the room? Please raise your hands. We have one in the back.
Hi, I'm Raphaël Karayan from l'expansion.com. I have 2 questions. First one is, what's your next step on mobile advertising? Because everybody knows it's a main issue for you. And second one, how do you compare to other online media in terms of costs?
So I only heard the first question, sorry. So I will start by answering this one and ask you to repeat the second one. So what are our next steps on mobile? Well, we already did quite a few steps on mobile. To start with, we already have 500 million users. We use Facebook on mobile every month. And we saw in the previous presentation that mobile is key in terms of internet access. So we do not have any urge to monetize them right away. What we want to do is look at the social insight, which is how do people use Facebook on mobile in order to provide to brands and advertisers the right tools to be socially relevant, to interact properly with our users thanks to advertising. So you already have some advertisings on Facebook mobile. What you see in the newsfeed, what I showed you, is that if you meet some criteria, if your advertising is efficient enough, aka relevant enough for our users, then you may be displayed in the newsfeed and you can actually start to buy that from a standalone basis. So if you're only interested in reaching users on Facebook, using Facebook on mobile, you can already do that. Related to the next steps, well, I think it's already quite efficient when you look at the article that TechCrunch published about 2 or 3 days ago. They showed that even if clicks do not relate with sales, we tend to look at how many users interact with an ad. And we saw that the engagement rate, the interaction rate with those ads in the newsfeed was somewhere between 1 all the way to 6%. When you compare to industry average, it's a staggering number. So we think that it's already a first step that is very encouraging. Users react very well to it. Businesses drive a lot of value from what we just released. And we hope to do some more in the future. And your second question was? Sorry.
It was about costs for advertisers. How do you compare to other online media?
Well, I think you people are the best to answer this question in terms of how do we relate to other platforms, because we tend to concentrate on Facebook. What we see is that you have to know exactly why you come on Facebook when you're doing advertising. A lot of people came there to connect with a large number of people, and sometimes they didn't connect with the right people. Therefore, their return on investment was very low. Now, when you have a lot of other companies who connected with the right people, and for instance, Ford in the US who said in the automotive vertical that launching their SUV on Facebook and using ads had a twice better ROI than the ads they were running on the Super Bowl. We believe that we compare fairly well to other, whether it's digital or whether other media advertising platforms. Now, of course, from one advertiser to another, from one vertical to another, it may change, but what you have to keep in mind is it's not just about cost, it's about results. It's about return on investment. What's the impact that it has on your main KPI, on your main indicator, whether it's people who come to your store, people who come to your website, people who buy on your website, or whatever. Does this answer?
We have another question here. I guess you chose the 40 people on purpose. I think many people here have a question about failures as well on Facebook advertising. We're talking about General Motors, who pulled back his advertising budget from Facebook. Well, this is the following of this question. Why brands fail on Facebook advertising, and do you not recommend to some brands to go on Facebook, and on what criteria?
If you don't know why you come on Facebook and you just want to do Facebook, then you should wait a little bit and ask yourself a few questions. Of course, you can go on Facebook just to use our scale and targeting. This is what we saw in terms of using Facebook as a media. And it is very efficient. In France alone, you can reach up to 12 million people in one single day. Nowhere else on the internet in France can you do that. So if it's just a matter of reach and awareness, then you can already use it. Now, if you don't know what your objective is and you just want to buy connections, people connecting to your page, well, I would say that it starts to be problematic, because this is not an objective. You shall not concentrate on how many people are connected to my page, what's my engagement rate, how many people are talking about this metric that you see on your page with Facebook now. These are just indicators of how well you're doing in order to reach your objective. And your objective shall be very clear in your head. So it's not Facebook objective, is what's my objective and how can Facebook can actually deliver on this goal.
Thank you. We have a question here.
I have a question, yes. My question is, how do you deal with hostile users who start disseminating false information about the company?
I'm not sure.
You put up a page.
Sorry, could you speak close to the microphone? Because the sound is not very loud.
Yes, there's an echo in the room. It's very unclear. My question is, if opponents, people on Facebook, they start hostile comments, falsehoods about your company. How do you deal with that?
Well, we're not the only one, and a lot of companies face hostile comments. What we do is we listen to them. I mean, whether it's true or false, it doesn't matter. It's what the perception. If they feel angry or not satisfied with something, we shall listen to them and we shall act accordingly. So for instance, a story that I like a lot is about translating our website. So for instance, making sure that you have a local experience. So we do not localize Facebook. What we did is that we created an app that enabled users to suggest what was the best translation for each and every single word on the website, and then other people could vote. Is it good, is it bad? Therefore, what we saw is that, for instance, to translate Facebook into French, well, thanks to you, thanks to French users, we translated the website in only 24 hours. And that's what I mean about, they weren't happy that the website was in English. So instead of saying, sorry, we're an American company, we cannot translate it, we tried to think about a solution to tackle this issue and provide a service that would make them happy and have a website in French. So when we have other hostile comments, we try to have the same approach, which is understand why they're complaining, listen to them, and provide them with an answer that is just not, I would say, public relation, but that actually changes the service, changes what we did, if we think it's relevant, in order to improve their satisfaction.
We have a question on the Twitter feed. Don't you think, well, I just read it and then don't you think people get fed up posting personal data and seeing too many ads? To put it short, how do you see the effectiveness of your advertisings on the site or anywhere compared to spamming?
This is a very good question, because when you talk about advertising efficiency, and that was the very theme of my talk this morning, is how to use Facebook ads to boost your business. Well, you have a twofold answer. The first one, of course, is from the business perspective. Does it drive sales? Does it drive traffic? And I hope that I provided you with some case studies to show you that if you do it properly and you know why you do it, then you can have a very strong business impact using those tools. Now, from a user perspective, I think when I first joined the company a bit more than 3 years ago, you still could see what we call banners, so classic advertising on Facebook. And what we saw is that the user feedback wasn't good and the performances weren't there. Therefore, we tried to think from the ground up of a social advertising that would be relevant. So in order to avoid spam, we have a few gatekeepers. The first one is making sure that when people see an ad, they interact with it. If they interact with it, we tend to believe that it's a sign that it's not just an ad, it's a piece of information, a piece of content that is relevant for this user. The second part is that whenever you see an ad, and I sincerely invite you to do so on Facebook, that you do not like because you found it too repetitive, because it's insulting, no matter why, we have a system where you can actually close this ad and report it, telling Facebook that this ad is not suitable for you for whatever reason, and you can tell us the reason. And again, like for the previous question, we take the feedback, we analyze it, and if it makes sense, we try to provide a proper solution. So that's how we hope we can fight against spam or spamming.
Thank you. Question there? We have two.
Hi, I'm Frederic from TMP Worldwide. I have a question about Facebook Connect. Do you have any figures about that? Because you know that some people do not engage and interact with other websites you are connected to because there are Facebook Connect.
So for those who don't know what Facebook Connect is, it's a tool. So part of that technology or platform side, it's a tool that enables you to use, for a user, to use your Facebook profile to have a better social experience on a website. From a business perspective, what it does is that you actually can leverage information to make your website more socially relevant to a user. So in terms of having figures, well, it's quite hard to give you figures because it's just a tool that we provide for free to developers, to companies, to do those services, to do those integrations. Now, what we see is that since a lot of our partners implemented this solution, so I'm thinking about Dailymotion or Deezer or social games or even some travel websites, what we see is that they tend to have extremely good results in terms of achieving the goals that were given to Facebook Connect. If you just want to implement Facebook Connect to implement it, forget it. Now, if Facebook Connect is here to answer the fact that registration can be done in just one click, well, you increase your conversion rate in terms of unique visitors to users of your website. So this is the first achievement. Now, if you want to go further, you can actually implement this Facebook Connect to enable better sharing possibilities for your unique visitors to share what they're doing on your website with their friends. And that's where you see that we drive a lot, and when I mean a lot, I mean millions of visits to these partners. So for instance, Deezer took the decision outside of France that you cannot open a Deezer account if you're not in France without using your Facebook profile, because the social experience, the service that they were providing was so much better leveraging Facebook Connect that they thought it would make sense for their users just to use this.
We'll take another question back there. In the back.
for your information, I will stay after the break if you have some more questions. So we are a few from Facebook. You have Maxime, Lex, Michel. Please raise your hand. We all work together, so if you have some questions, just and you don't want to talk about it out loud, just come to us and we'll be happy to answer.
Alice Garnier, FH Group. You only talked about B2C companies. What do you think about B2B companies on Facebook?
So B2C, B2B is roughly the same for me, in the sense that you have business objectives that you want to answer using the Facebook technology, the social technology that I showed you, pages. So, for instance, I work with Dassault Systèmes, so it's a technology company, fairly niche, and what they did is that they have a 3D software called Katia, so very B2B use because it's mostly for architects and people who were in that field. And what they saw is that by creating a page, by amplifying all the added value, all the content, all the community management that they were doing on this page, they managed to gather more than 10,000 people on that page and have an insane engagement rate. So for instance, from B2B perspective, those people actually gave feedback about the product itself in order to improve it, in order to make the product better, suitable for their needs. So in terms of B2B, you shall not, of course, imagine about millions of connections and how this can develop. But if you're very clear about how Facebook can leverage your B2B objectives by following this, what we call internally CII framework, so connecting, engaging, influencing, and integrating, you can actually achieve some pretty good results.
So we'll take just a question from the text messages system. Actually, it works finally. Could you tell us something about Facebook cost evolution perspectives, i.e. cost per click, lead, everything?
So the evolution about it, so if I go back again to the TechCrunch article that was showing the difference between classic advertising, so like I said, ads, so not connection, sponsored stories delivered on the website and sponsored stories delivered on newsfeed or newsfeed for mobile, you see that the eCPM changes a lot, which is the cost about it. What is interesting is that you can buy advertising on Facebook from a cost per click basis or a cost per impression basis. Now, the more demand you have for those spots, for those advertising solutions, of course, the prices goes up. And a company that I refer to a lot when I'm trying to follow the trends is TBG, which is an ads partner of Facebook. So we have a program called Preferred Marketing Developers, where you have people specialized in using the platform, using our insights, our reporting tool, our ads, and so on. And they run a lot of campaigns on Facebook, and they're very good at following what are the trends in terms of CPC and CPM. What we see is that it changes a lot from one country to another, and from one time to another. So for instance, as you are not based on where your ad is, but the cost is related to who you are trying to reach, whether it's a very tiny, very precise group, so people working in Paris, in the fashion industry, who like this specific artist. Of course, the price will be a lot more expensive than if you are targeting a broader spectrum. So let's say women between the age of 18 to 34 years old who live in France. So it's very hard to compare. Now, you have some reports. We do not deliver any, but a lot of our partners deliver reports about the evolution of cost per click or cost per impression on Facebook.
Thank you very much. We will go on to the next speakers. Please keep your questions for the break in a few minutes. Thank you very much, Xavier.
Thank you very much.